still Missouri Attorney General. He joins us now, Senator Schmitt.
Great to see you.
Great to be with you guys.
So you said earlier that you felt like the arguments went well in the Supreme Court, but it also sounds like the justices were somewhat skeptical of the case. Where do you think it stands right now?
Well, I think a case of this gravity, which is the most important free speech, certainly a case in our lifetime, perhaps in U.S. history, you should expect some tough questions. But I think it's tricky to read too much into oral arguments. I mean, the truth of the matter is a lot of cases that you'll hear where you think questioning goes one particular way from one particular justice, the ultimate decision goes another way. I've seen that happen both ways. And ultimately, these cases are decided really on the briefs that are submitted and the record. And the good news here is, you know, when I was AG, before we got the preliminary injunction hearing, because we won at the district court level and that was affirmed at the circuit court, the appellate court, there's 20,000 plus pages in that record of emails and texts and correspondence and discussions of special portals, censorship meetings, all these threats that were latent if you don't take this down or else. And so I think when the court, takes all of this in and it's laid before them before they issue their decision probably sometime in June, they're going to see a vast censorship enterprise. This wasn't a one-off thing, guys. I mean, this wasn't one official saying something publicly. This was a leviathan of government agencies that came together to try to crush dissent, and that anybody who questioned the narrative of the Biden administration, particularly on COVID, whether it was on masks or the vaccine or on the lab leak theory, any of those things, they were taken down at the behest of some of the highest-ranking government officials in our country by way of some of the biggest social media companies in the world. So I hope that the Supreme Court sees it the same way that the lower courts did.
My only concern, Senator, as you're speaking in past tense, was, and I'm afraid that it's still ongoing, just through different mechanisms.
Yeah.
And I hate to ask you about a viral moment from the oral arguments, because you say to yourself, how important are these? But I think this was an important moment, so I wanted to get your reaction. I was appalled at the statement and the questioning from Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson when she said, "You're really hamstringing the government here." And it was my understanding, and I only did 3 years of law school, but it's 3 years, but that's the point. Like, that's not only the point of the First Amendment, it's the point of the Bill of Rights, and it's the point of the United States Constitution to hamstring the government.
Exactly. That is the point. The founders were very well aware of the excesses of authoritarian regimes, right, that wanted to crush dissent. And the very First Amendment of our Constitution and the Bill of Rights was to say that the government doesn't have anything to say of, restricting what you can say or what you can hear or what you can believe. And that goes to the heart of it. So I actually think that it was a revealing question, but it also gives us an opportunity, I think, to rekindle what should be something that unifies us as a country, is this belief in fundamental human expression. It's a pressure release valve for a free society to get these opinions out, and the government can't restrict that. It's also, by the way, one of the other plaintiffs, guys, was Dr. Bhattacharya, who talked about the implications on science. Science depends on questioning assumptions, constantly pushing back, and so I think it's just really important for us to hold the First Amendment dear and protect it, and that's what this case stands for. As we're fully in the digital age now, and in the virtual town square where speech needs to be protected.
Yeah, I'm just so proud that you guys put this case forward. I think it is the most important free speech case in our lifetime, and I guess you said this should be a unifying moment. I agree, but I've been sort of confused as to why classic liberals aren't concerned about this, why it feels like this is a left versus right issue. What's happened to our country? If you could just step back even from the case a little bit, what is happening to the country and to people in general that free speech isn't something we all can come together and be in favor of? Is it just that one side has so much power inside of the government, that censorship industrial complex, they think they own it, that they're not on board with free speech?
Yeah, I mean, I'm old enough, and you guys are old enough to remember when liberals actually believed in free speech. Yeah. And somewhere along the way, they lost the plot. And you started to see it on college campuses where, conservatives were kind of put into the upper bleachers if they had anything to say. Speakers were being disinvited. And now you see it fully weaponized in a way by, again, the Biden administration wanting to stop any sort of dissent. And this is dangerous. I mean, and if you take a step back to your question, this is a very dangerous thing. And so I think the Democrats here, not all of them, but the left certainly has crossed the Rubicon on this, and it's all about power and control. That's what it's about. It's not about the marketplace of ideas and persuasion. It's about power and control. And COVID revealed this. They talk about power corrupting. Power reveals. And COVID revealed the fact that these folks, it was just about aggregating and exercising power. Put the mask on, or take the darn shot. Whatever they were saying, nobody could question. And I think that this is a defining moment for our country, who we're going to be, because free speech gets to the heart of what it means to be an American, to speak your mind without fear of adverse repercussions from the government. We saw that on full display in COVID. That's been demonstrated in the Missouri versus Biden lawsuit, and why this case is so important.
We'll be watching for that decision this summer.
Are we born free or not? I think it's so fundamental to who we are. Senator Schmitt, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks,
today.
Senator.
Anytime.